you are stepping into the shoes of a beloved role in the show.
Yeah.
Teryl played her character very mother hen. These are my people. I am
Yeah.
responsible for their health. Donna Davis and Teryl had kind of a mother-father role to
Right.
the SG-1 team, and you're coming in there, and right on the page, this is a hard-edged character with an axe, bit of an axe to grind. We don't really know why at the beginning. We find
Right.
that out, but you have to take the material as it is and play it within those boundaries. She's not going to be all, lovey-dovey
Yeah.
and these are my people, and she's there to perform her job and probably stay away from her dad as much as she can.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get any kind of, maybe you don't read the fan information, the fan responses, but were you kind of like, wow, she's rough, or did you just like, yeah, that's who this character is at this point in her life?
You know what? That to me, it was more the latter. Just from the standpoint of Teryl is Teryl. Like she's
Right.
amazing, and there's
Right.
no way I knew going into it. I felt like maybe enough time had passed since Teryl's character's passing, um, that it didn't look like an immediate replacement. And thankfully,
Right.
they wrote a completely different character. They didn't write, Teryl 2.0.
No.
Which was a relief for me. And I also thought, from my perspective, being put in a position of being the chief medical officer on a top secret base, like the certain things have to give for you to be able to get to that place at the age that my character was at.
Right.
And I thought one of the things to go was social skills.
Yeah, she's so young. She would have had to have sacrificed something.
Yeah.
She didn't party a lot, I
Probably
wouldn't
friendship.
think. Yeah.
Sacrificing friendships and relationships and things like that. So her social skills are not necessarily going to be are in the motherly way that Teryl's were. But also that there's a defensiveness that comes with being young for your age, but also being put in positions of responsibility.
Got to prove myself.
Yeah, that I think there was a little bit of a chip on her shoulder in that way. And then finding out that she's basically working for her dad.
Oh, can you imagine? I would have loved to have seen the look on her face when she got her assignment and she read the headline of commanding officer. She would have been like, oh, shh.
Like, are you kidding me? Although it was very funny because I don't know if you've heard this story, but I've told it a couple of times at conventions, is Beau, before our first scene together, he wanted to have that argument that Landry and his daughter would have had at some point where they just laid into each other.
Between the two of you.
Yes. So we improvised just off stage this whole screaming match. And then literally when they called rolling, Beau stopped talking, turned around, walked away. And I'm like, I walk into the scene and I'm like hot. I was like still fuming from that interaction that we had, like not genuinely as Lexa, but still bring around that emotion. And it was hilarious because I think it was Andy Makita that was directing that came around afterwards. And he's like, okay, you're a little hot. Can we take it down a notch? Because Beau, being the consummate professional, was fine. Just took that experience, filed it where he needed to file it, and then went into the scene playing his scene. Whereas I was like still carrying around that rage.
As she kind of would have to a degree, but she would have had nights to sleep and think about it. But wow.
It wouldn't be as fresh. Yeah. So, but it was useful. So like even working with Beau was an education in that regard too, like sort of the freedom, because when you're a Canadian actor in a service town like Vancouver, often the attitude when going to work is to try and figure out or to give them what they want. They being the director, the producers, whatever. One thing that I love about working with a lot of American actors, somebody like Beau personifies this, is the commitment to being an artist, which is, I'm going to give you what I have and we can work together, which is a terrific and a far more it's a far more freeing, you become a better actor when you do that. But it is something that I think a lot of Canadian actors are afraid to do because they're viewed often as this, like, just hit your mark and bark and give us what we're looking for, as opposed to be an artist and bring what you have to the table in terms of the interpretation of your character. So that part of it was really freeing for me as well.
Wow. I didn't know that story. Thank you for sharing that. That's really cool. And it makes a lot of sense, though, that that's his kind of approach. This is a conversation that they probably would have had, if they didn't have it before, they would have had it later and we would have gotten a chance to see it. So the implication is, they've already gotten it out of their system.
Yeah. Or it's unresolved in that they've had that argument.
Did you get the impression that he requested her? Is that the impression that you got from it, or was it just happenstance that they got assigned together?
No, I think he requested her.
Oh no! So now she's got that baggage to deal with. It's like, would I really have gotten here under my own merits? Now I'll never know.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I never actually talked about it with Beau, but I felt like there was probably a list of doctors that up for that particular job, and he approved. Carolyn.
Probably. Wow.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I think she did get there to a large degree on her own merit, but he definitely, I think, was very happy to have her work there to try and fix their relationship in some capacity, because I do think that was the hardest thing, because Beau is such a lovely human.
Yeah. To
look at that sweet face of his when he was like trying so hard to connect, and for her to be like, fuck you.
Go ahead. You yell at that face.
I'm like, oh yeah.
I was on set during the filming of the episode where you guys go to the other planet and everyone is dying from the prior plague.
Oh right.
And I saw an exchange between Mitchell and Landry. There was a great scene that did not make it into the final cut, and I've always wondered if Cameron and Carolyn had a relationship prior to the show. Did you get that impression? Because it suggested that they were a thing for a little while at least, and then came together on the base.
I never got that impression. I got the impression that maybe they were angling Carolyn to be a love interest for Mitchell.
Okay.
Eventually. Okay. It never happened. I think it was interesting because I know I've been asked if there's anything more that I would have liked to have seen with Carolyn, because she wasn't in a ton in season 10. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, there was like kind of galactic annihilation in the Ori and like all kinds of like really big things that they needed to maybe wrap up that were possibly a little bit more important than my character. Call me crazy. So in the service of the overall story, I think Carolyn sat exactly where she needed to sit. But yeah, I mean, it would have been interesting. That would have been hilarious to see Michael's reaction if they made me love interest for Ben Browder. Although Ben is lovely, please don't get me wrong. I think Michael might have had an objection or two about that.
Oh, some of the best photos, Stargate photos, are of Ben planting a smooch on Michael online.
Oh my God, they're hilarious. Well, never mind the fact that it gets even funnier that when they're at conventions sometimes, it's like people will mistake them for each other.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
It's hilarious.
Thanks for watching this clip from Dial the Gate. You can find the full live stream shows on our YouTube channel or visit dialthegate.com for the complete schedule. See you on the other side.